Hello and welcome back to Fear the Waves Inside the Wave. I'm here with the special guest, Fear the Wave Collective himself, Michael Arata. Michael, how are you doing?
Isaac, I'm fantastic. I'm thrilled to be on Inside the Wave, man. You and John have been doing such a great job, and I appreciate you all including me in this. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. It's overdue to have you on the show. Helped us come up with the name for this show and have been a great support to us this whole season. Michael, you asked me a question earlier this week, and I think this is where I want to start this show. You asked me, where does Tulane rank among all teams in college football looking at FBS over the last 3 seasons? Obviously, we haven't finished that third season, but we've played 10 games this year. Do you remember where the Waves stand?
Gosh, Isaac, let's think about this. So we're 12-2. 11-3, 8-2. I mean, that's a fantastic run. What did I just add up? 31 wins, 32
That's
wins?
correct. 31
wins.
For fourth in the entire nation,
Wow.
only behind Georgia, Michigan, and Oregon.
Wow.
So basically number one teams in the country in each of those 3 seasons. Tulane is fourth, all alone at 31, by the way. There's a few teams at 30. Also some teams that you think of when you think about the top teams in college football. We think about Tulane, obviously Washington and Alabama and Ohio State at 30 are the teams that most people think about, with Georgia, Michigan, and Oregon, the only teams ahead of Tulane.
Didn't that make you happy? I mean, it also, doesn't it give you a sense of like, Isaac, we've really accomplished something spectacular here. I mean, it's really something substantial. And when you talk about it in those terms, it really makes you can see the substance of it. I mean, that's fantastic. So first off, congratulations to everybody who's helped Fear the Wave. The coaching staff and the teams have just been fantastic. And so it's fun to be a part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a great time working for the collective. And I'm very lucky that these were 3 of the years that I'm a Tulane student, because there are a lot of great players on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Michael, do you think that Tulane leading the country in time of possession is a meaningful statistic? They're very good at a lot of things, ranked top 5 in a bunch of metrics, but they're number 1 in this stat, not 4th behind Georgia, Oregon. Still really impressive. Number 1.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it talks to the type of football we're playing. I think if we were leading the nation in time of possession and we were 2-10, that would say something totally different, right? We would be a totally ineffective offense. But you've seen us play, you've watched, our record, and we're not. I mean, we're a really effective offense. You know this because your iPop stats. You would know that when we get to the red zone, we score. We score touchdowns most of the time, and when we kick field goals too. Very rarely do we get to the red zone and not score. So when you're holding the ball for that duration of time, you're taking their offensives, especially the way that the clock management is now with college football. I don't know, what is the number of possessions a team gets? 12, 13? So if we're holding the ball for that amount of time, Isaac, then we're taking a possession away or 2 possessions away from them. And that's tremendous when you think about that. Could be 20 to 15, 20% of their total offensive output just goes in the trash because we're holding the football and they're not. And so if you look at those factors, time of possession plus scoring plus taking away their opportunities to score, it's lethal. And I got to tell you, I got my Tulane football helmet racked up against my sailing ship in the back. That's our Tulane versus Navy this week. If we have that kind of success against Navy, because that's a team that wants to possess the ball, we're gonna walk out of there really happy.
That's what I think, Michael. I believe that Tulane only had 3 possessions in the first half against Charlotte, and they ended up winning that game 34-3. It was a little close at halftime, but if Charlotte can't score, they're not going to win. And That's really how I see a game like Memphis and Navy going these final 2 weeks, as Memphis had 8 or 9 possessions in a row where they didn't score after they were up a lot when they lost to UTSA. If that was a game against us, they would have just not scored, period.
Correct.
And we would have been able to win. So looking forward to seeing Tulane continue what they've done in conference play, which is absolutely dominate. Obviously wasn't as strong in the non-conference play, but John Summerall went on our show on Monday and talked about how it really clicked for them after Oklahoma. A lot of new guys went into Oklahoma. Darian Mensah playing his first road game ever, neutral site or road game, because he didn't play in that bowl game. And so there's a learning curve. And they went in to Oklahoma and bounced back in the second half, made it really close, one possession in the fourth quarter. Kansas State, we all know Tulane probably should have won that game, would be 9-1, leading the country in time possession. And second in red zone touchdowns. They struggled a little bit with that. Second in red zone scores. They struggled a little bit with that in the non-conference play against Oklahoma and Kansas State, the two Power 4 schools. But they have basically scored every single possession. And as you said, usually touchdowns in conference play.
So, Isaac, you and I were at the Oklahoma game. And if you think back to that, if you think about the difference between the quality of play for us in the first half versus the second half, didn't you get a sense that the team was really starting to find their grit and their toughness and their determination? Not only were we scoring on Oklahoma in the second half, we were running them off the field 3 and out on defense. Our defense was starting to take over. Their quarterback didn't know what to do, and we were sacking them. We had the momentum. Obviously, we had the interception for the touchdown. But I think, like Coach thinks, that's where the team's core, to me, really started to form, right? That was where the forge, where the iron really started to meld. And we're like, okay, this is a tough group of kids. They're not going to quit. They're going to fight like crazy. And, we came out on the short end on that one. I agree with you on Kansas State, obviously. That's one of those that, like, boy, I wish that wouldn't have gotten away from us. But yeah, so the components of what we're going to need this weekend, like, we're going to need toughness. We're going to need a lot of tough. They're going to be a really hard-nosed, very physical football team, and we're going to have to be a really hard-nosed, very, very physical football team. I think we got that. So that's a check for us. Speed, team speed, I think we got that too. And so our team speed, our toughness, if we're disciplined, and you've heard Coach say this, both in the team meetings when we attend the pregame stuff and both on his Zoom calls with you, in the Zoom calls he does with us, turnovers. If we are the team that walks out of there winning the turnover battle, I think we win that football game.
I think I agree with you. It's hard to believe that one of the first games I watched of Tulane football, as I got into school in 2019 and then started attending Tulane in 2020. So I am a little bit of a bandwagon fan here, although I did jump on before the Cotton Bowl season. One of the first games I watched was a tough loss to Navy, game-winning field goal for Navy, 27-24, back on September 19th, 2020. I think this Tulane team is just not even close to that team. Tulane has won every single game in the 7-game winning streak by over 7 points, so a minimum of 8 points, touchdown and a 2-point conversion. But Navy is a better team, most likely, than all the other teams that we've played so far. Why do you think that Tulane can still beat Navy by at least 2 scores this weekend?
So 2 scores is a lot. I don't know if we can beat them by 2 scores. I would like to just beat them, period.
At least win.
Yeah, we want to win. If we win by 2 scores, great. But going to Navy and beating Navy at Navy is an accomplishment that the nation's going to take note of. And so I think it's going to come down to the things we just talked about. We're going to have team speed. They're not going to be able to match our team speed. Like their defensive backs against our wide receivers, I take our wide receivers. They got a really good pass rusher, so our offensive line against their defensive front, I like our offensive line. We have a young quarterback. They've got a really experienced quarterback. And so can we stop that guy? And I think our defense is up to the task. But quite honestly, this is the biggest challenge. I think even bigger than Oklahoma. Their quarterback, this is going to be the best quarterback I think we faced all year. And he's going to be a handful. So it's really going to come down to how does our defensive line stack up against their offensive line and handling their kind of their wishbone, veer, triple option threat where they pull out and play action pass. And then number 2, when we have our opportunities, do we capitalize? Do we catch the long pass when it's thrown? Do we break that extra tackle? Do we get the extra 10 to 15 yards? And you know what, Isaac, I got to tell you, I think we win the game. I don't think we win by 2 scores, but I think we come out ahead at least 3 to 5 points, maybe a touchdown. I think it's going to be a tough game because, you and I were talking about this before we started this Zoom. We don't do well up in Navy. We haven't won up against Navy. We haven't won there in almost 20 years. I think it's been 23 years. And you and I talked about this. Tulane played Navy back, I think it was 2020. was a miserable game. They jumped out all over us. We fought back, and then we lost at the end of it. And we've had some really miserable experiences, both at home and away, against Navy recently. And so we've got our work cut out for us. Like, there's a reason that this is going to be a marquee game on Saturday. Like, these are two really good football teams, and they're going to play really good football against each other.
Some great points, Michael. Tulane's 26-4 when they've won the takeaway battle in the last 30 games. So we'll keep an eye on the takeaways, although I almost feel like that's a bad stat because Tulane's basically 26-4 in their last 30 games anyway. Granted, the takeaways will matter, especially against a team like Navy. Will be interesting to watch all their triple option and veer cuts, but what did you see from Dagan Bruno this week on the scout team playing quarterback?
I'm glad you brought him up. He was like a gem. He was like this terrific find that that they pulled out to say, like, oh, by the way, you want to know somebody who's a really effective triple threat, veer option quarterback? Like, that guy, I think his stature, the way he conducted the scout team offense, he can throw, he's fast. And you saw him, like, I really thought to myself, like, it's hard to replicate this unorthodox style of football, which was basically how football was played when I was playing football. Everybody ran either the double or triple option. But to see him execute, like, that guy knew what he was doing. And I think, man, what a blessing it is to have him on the team, right? He really did a great job. I thought he was super fast. And one of the things you can't ever replicate in practice is game speed, but he really did a great job of having the scout team execute crisply so that the defense knows that you have only a split second to react to either, I got to stay with my man or I got to take the ball. And a lot of times, coach did this week. You saw this. We practiced without a football. They practice without a football so that you don't worry about the football. You worry about your assignment. And if that's your assignment, you stick with your assignment. It doesn't matter where the football is. Somebody else has that assignment. And if you do your job, somebody else is going to have to do their job. So I really loved him. I thought he was awesome. And I think he showed a lot. I think he showed a lot of quickness and grit, showed a lot of maneuverability. And I think he really did well for himself. The coaches really got a good view of what this kid's capable of.
Last week against Temple and homecoming, I felt like it was a really exciting game, a lot of fun, especially with the weather. Just kind of let Tulane get some big scores, maybe help them in that regard, or at least just the opponent allowed Tulane to just run up the score. So that was fun. This week, I think, is going to be a very different game. Tulane's going to really play gritty, gut this one out. Won't necessarily be as exciting, I'm predicting, but if Tulane wins in Navy Marine Stadium in Annapolis, that's all that matters, and that's exciting. It's a win and you're in game. The one thing I'm looking at from a stats perspective, because Tulane's just top 8 in offense and defense now in net EPA per play, which is my favorite metric according to Game on Paper. But if you dive a little bit deeper into Navy, who also is pretty highly rated, top 30 team on both sides of the ball, 12th in offense and net EPA per play. When you look at defensive success rate, so the percentage of plays that are successful for them, on the defensive end, they're 34th in the country in passing, but 113th in rushing. Mekhi Hughes only scored 7 touchdowns. It's really hard to believe last season. This season, he scored a touchdown in all 10 games.
I know.
And that's 15 total,
yeah.
13 rushing, 2 receiving. He is the first Tulane player ever with 700-yard rushing games in multiple seasons, and it already is 7th in school history in career rushing yards. He passed Bill Banker this week for 7th, and this is just his 2nd season. Is there any way he doesn't get into the end zone? I won't ask for a score prediction. I know John likes those. As long as we win, we're happy. But I want a touchdown prediction for Mekhi Hughes.
Oh, I think Mekhi gets 2 touchdowns. And by the way, so I think just like the recipe for all of these games, Isaac, we're going to run the ball. We're going to hand the ball off to Mekhi. You're going to see Mekhi run and run and run and run. You're going to see Arnold Barnes get the ball a few times, and then Mekhi is going to get back in, and he's going to run and run and run. One of the recipes that Houston did against this defense was it took its big, which we know is like, it's not a super fast team, but Rice ran the ball, and they ran the ball effectively. And so I got to tell you, like Coach Summerall's philosophy is, we're going to run the ball on you. We're going to carry the time of possession. We're going to have the explosive plays, and we're going to win the turnover battle. And I got to tell you, like, it really comes down to the turnover battle, like statistically. So for all of our fans out there listening, Jake Weinstock just finished his pregame. You all should, after you watch this, y'all should check out Jake's analysis. It's terrific. And I got to tell you, Jake Weinstock breaks it down, and like, there's reason to worry. Like, this is a really good football team we're going to go play, and we're playing in a really hostile environment, really tough environment. Like, it's going to be packed. 25th ranked Tulane University is coming up there to play against Navy at Navy. Every midshipman is going to be there. Every fan is going to be there. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a beautiful football on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. But they have the intention of winning, by the way. Like, their intention is like our intention every week when we travel. We're in their house. And so it's going to be a really tough, difficult place to win. I am going to give you a score prediction. I think we win 28-21, 28-24. I think we beat them by a touchdown, maybe beat them by, like I said, 5 points, 4 or 5 points. It's going to be a close game. They're going to score on us. I think we may run away with it at the end of the game with our running back, where Mekhi just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But Isaac, I'll tell you this. I think we come back to New Orleans on an 8-game winning streak. We're 9-2, and we're going into the college football playoffs. And you heard it right here. You heard it from John Summerall almost a year ago, but you're hearing it here. We're going to the damn college football playoffs. Boise's going to lose this weekend to San Jose State. We're going to beat Navy. Army's going to lose to Notre Dame, and Tulane is ascendant. You heard it here, folks. Fear the wave. Fear the wave.
Love the prediction, Michael. Fear the wave and roll wave.
Yes, indeed. Fear the wave and roll wave. Thank you, Isaac. I love this, man. Thanks for having me on.